Revealed, 7 miraculous keys to divine peace through sacred detachment and supernatural flow. In the quaint village of Larkspur, where the air was filled with the sound of church bells ringing, Mary's life had always been one of unwavering faith. She woke early each Sunday, a soft halo enveloping her as sunlight streamed through her window. Her devotion to the local chapel was known to all, her fervent prayers ascending like smoke from the flickering candles that adorned the altar. Yet, darkness loomed when John, her gentle husband, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. As villagers gathered in murmured prayer around the blooming wildflowers, Mary felt torn. She cried out to God, her heart heavy with hope and fear. "Why, Lord?" she whispered. Amidst this chaos, she stumbled upon the miraculous, the first key to divine peace, surrender. One night, enveloped in prayer, Mary felt warmth wash over her. The chapel's candlelight flickered, casting shadows that danced as if angels were themselves offering comfort. The weight of doubt began to lift, and she sensed the promise of God's plan unfolding around her. Mary was caught between fervent pleas for healing and the doctor's ominous silence, but in each whispered prayer, the second key revealed itself, faith's tenacity in the face of despair. Days turned into nights, each blurring into a tapestry of hope and worry. Miraculous occurrences began to manifest. A child in the village, stirred by a divine call, stood at the altar one night, praying fervently for John. Their innocent prayers seemed to breathe life into the very walls of the chapel, igniting a flicker of joy. The third key was connection, an intertwined faith binding the community together. One evening, as Mary knelt in desperation, a stranger entered the chapel. His presence was profound, and as he spoke, his words mirrored her prayers. "Hope, dear lady, is not the absence of suffering but the trust in God's wisdom." Mary's heart swelled, her spirit soaring as the fourth key to peace was unveiled, the embrace of divine wisdom, guiding through overwhelming circumstances. Yet, tragedy struck as John's condition deteriorated rapidly. Mary sought every remedy, specialists, herbalists, faith healers, but each attempt left her heart heavier. Doubt seeped into her spirit like ivy creeping up a wall. In that darkness, she cried out, her voice echoing against the chapel's wooden beams. But in her fiercest moment of anguish, she discovered the fifth key, a revelation. Peace was not merely a destination, it was an ongoing journey. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the village wrapped around them in heartfelt prayer, the air grew thick with hope. Mothers and fathers, children and elders all united with voices raised. The sixth key glimmered in their unity, community as a fortress against despair. Incredible stories began to weave through the prayers. An elderly woman asked for a sign, and the next day, a garden bloomed more brightly than ever before, bringing tears to Mary's eyes. But just as the atmosphere pulsed with a renewed sense of possibility, the final truth remained uncertain. Could they truly hold on to hope when John's condition seemed to worsen? The night deepened, shadows engulfing the chapel, stirring questions in Mary's heart that felt like tendrils of faith yet to be explored. Would they witness a miracle, or was this a test they must endure? As they gathered for one last prayer, the air buzzed with expectancy. Would the seventh key trust be the last piece of a divine puzzle? The answer loomed on the horizon. As the last echoes of prayer settled in the chapel, Mary took a deep breath. The air felt charged with tension, a blend of hope and worry swirling like candle smoke. She looked around at the faces illuminated by the warm glow of the lights. They were earnest, reflecting the stirring of faith in each heart. Was this the moment they were all waiting for? Bowls of candlelight flickered on the altar, mimicking the heartbeat of the congregation. Mary could hardly contain her yearning. Would trust be enough? What if this was the moment their lives hung in the balance? "Let us pray one last time," she said, her voice trembling ever so slightly. The villagers gathered closer, their hands clasped firmly. She could feel the energy radiating from them, weaving a tapestry of collective faith. "Lord," she began, her words carrying the weight of countless prayers before. "We come before you, seeking your divine guidance in our darkest hour. Our hearts are heavy, our hopes flicker like these burning candles. But we stand united, trusting in your plan." As they surrendered their anguish, Mary closed her eyes. She imagined John, breathing softly, surrounded by peace. In her mind's eye, he smiled, free from pain. The picture was vivid, infused with warmth and love, a memory painted by faith. Just then, a hush fell upon the room, as if time itself paused to listen. An ethereal presence enveloped the chapel, it felt as though the very walls were exhaling solace. Mary's heart raced, she knew God was near. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the nave. Windows rattled gently, and the flickering candles danced wildly in response. A few gasps echoed, some opened their eyes in startled wonder. A feeling of unease darted through the congregation. But Mary remained still, drawing deeper into her faith. She felt a pull towards the divine like never before. "Stay grounded," she urged softly. "This is God's movement. We must embrace it." Her encouragement resonated with them, and they held on to their prayer with newfound fervor. In the moments that followed, nostalgia cascaded upon Mary as she recalled the many times John had lifted her spirits with laughter, how they had faced storms together, hand in hand. The beauty of their shared faith surged within her like a divine river. This connection to him, to God, and to the villagers felt more palpable than ever. In the depth of her trust, she discovered the promise of resurrection, divine healing, and unshakable peace. Then, a voice broke the stillness, its tone melodic, filled with warmth. "Mary," it was as if angels themselves were reaching down through the veil. "Have you not witnessed the miracles among you? Embrace the trials, for this season will birth something beautiful." Tears brimmed in her eyes as clarity settled over her heart. The seventh key was more than mere trust, it was the understanding that every struggle bore fruit. "Lord, I trust in your goodness," she proclaimed, her voice ringing out. "We trust in your greater plans." A collective amen arose, harmonizing with her assertion. Mary opened her eyes to the light streaming through the stained glass windows, painting the chapel with hues of heaven. In that moment, despite the uncertainty, peace washed over the congregation, but just as the air shifted, a sudden commotion came from the doorway. A figure stood silhouetted against the bright evening sky, panting and weary. Was it John? The crowd gasped collectively, breaths hitching. The mystery about to unfold hummed in the air. Could health and hope truly walk hand in hand? Mary's heart raced with anticipation, a whirlwind of faith racing through her veins. What would happen next? Would John's return mark the culmination of this divine journey? The air thickened with excitement, prayers hanging suspended on the edge of revelation. The figure at the doorway stepped into the chapel, bringing with him a rush of cool evening air that stirred the candles into flickers of light. Mary's eyes widened, her heart pounding in her chest. Could it truly be him? As the outline became clearer, the chapel erupted in a chorus of whispers, each voice filled with disbelief and wonder. The silhouette bore familiar features, worn but undeniably John. His hair was tousled, his clothing slightly tattered, but there was a resilient spirit in his eyes as he met Mary's gaze. "John!" Her cry broke free, a mixture of joy and relief. She rushed towards him, and in an instant, they were wrapped in each other's arms. The congregation stood silent, their collective breath held, witnessing this moment of reunion that seemed to defy all reasons. "I'm here, Mary," he murmured, his voice an anchor amidst the chaos of emotions surging through her. "I returned, just as you believed I would." Releasing him from her embrace but keeping her hands on his shoulders, Mary scanned his face. There was something about him, an aura of tranquility, an ethereal glow that made him appear almost otherworldly. She felt a deep stirring in her heart. John had faced the storm, and here he was, walking proof of love's enduring power. A soft gasp escaped one of the villagers, and soon others followed suit, stepping forward to envelop John with warmth and gratitude. Each embrace, each tear, seeped into the fabric of their shared faith, weaving a tapestry of miracles that felt tangible in the air. "Praise God!" a voice called out from the back. "He has returned to us." Mary stepped back, her heart swelling as she glanced around at faces filled with disbelief and joy. The flickering candlelight danced in the eyes of her neighbors, transforming their shocked expressions into glimmers of hope. "Tell us, John," one elder implored, eyes wide with anticipation. "What happened? Where were you?" John took a deep breath, centering himself in the holy moment. I was shown something beyond words," he began. "In the darkest hours, I felt the presence of love that guided me, love that does not wane with the shadows. It was there that I learned that trials bring clarity and purpose." Mary held his hand, enveloping it with her own, grounding them both. "The voice in our prayer, it spoke of embracing trials. Did you hear it too?" she asked softly. He nodded slowly. "In every moment of doubt, I felt a whisper urging me to trust in something greater than myself. We are more than just flesh and blood, Mary. We are threads in the grand tapestry of life." A hush fell over the room, reverence hanging in the air like the smell of incense. John's words struck a chord, they resonated with deep truths. The villagers listened, their hearts opening to the mesmerizing flow of his testimony. As he continued to speak, visions of light danced in Mary's mind, a heavenly reminder of the promise each challenge brings. Together, they began to stitch together faith and experience, weaving narratives of hope, healing, and resurrection. Suddenly, a flicker of doubt cracked through the harmony. What if this was a reprieve, a temporary blessing? What if their next trial lay just beyond the horizon? Just as her heart began to flutter with uncertainty, John turned toward her again, his eyes locked onto hers. "Remember, my love," he said firmly, his grip on her hand tightening, "our journey doesn't end here. There is still so much more to uncover. Every challenge we face will only deepen our understanding of divine peace, and we must be ready." Mary's spirit soared alongside his words. "What's next, then?" she breathed, her mind racing with possibilities. John smiled, the kind of smile that reassured her soul. "Together, we will discover the next miraculous key to peace, and I believe it could lead us somewhere extraordinary." The air buzzed with anticipation. Every heart raced at the thought of revelation. A new adventure was on the cusp of unfolding, and divine possibilities loomed large in the stillness that embraced them. What awaited on this continued journey? What hidden truths would emerge from their next steps hand in hand? As peace settled lightly on them, the weight of unknown mysteries still nodded in the air. John searched the faces around him, each one a canvas of longing, love, and the flickering flame of hope. The chapel, once a quiet sanctuary, became a vibrant space, buzzing with the energy of revived faith. "Let us prepare our hearts," John said, raising his voice to reach everyone present. "For the journey ahead, we must be open, willing to let go of what we think we know. There are keys to peace, dear friends, and together we will unlock them." Mary felt a warmth spread through her, a fluttering excitement marrying itself to her eagerness. She trusted him, she always had. As the villagers settled into a hush, the air thick with anticipation, she sensed a divine current flowing through them, a powerful wave of hope crashing against the shores of uncertainty. John took a step forward, his gaze moving from face to face. "The first key to divine peace," he began, "is sacred detachment. We must learn to release our grip on what binds us. When we release our fears and earthly attachments, we make space for God's love to flow through us." Mary felt the depth of his words. She too had clung tightly to her worries, the vision of loss suffocating her spirit. But as John spoke, she understood that surrender wasn't weakness, it was trust. Trust in something far greater than her own understanding. The villagers exchanged glances, the weight of John's message settling like a gentle blanket over their hearts. She could see the quiet acknowledgement among them, the surrendering of concerns, like pebbles thrown into a tranquil lake, rippling outward. What does this mean in our daily lives? An elder asked, curiosity sparking in his eyes. John smiled gently, it means learning to live in the moment, fully present to God's grace. Each of us carries burdens. But when we detach from our expectations and the need for control, we create room for divine intervention. It's about trusting that the path we walk is illuminated by the light of love. Mary marveled at how John's words resonated. Would the villagers be ready to let go? Could they abandon their earthly securities in favor of faith's embrace? Letting go, a soft voice whispered from the back. But what if we feel lost? Exactly. That will be the first challenge, John replied, his enthusiasm shining through. Yet, let me assure you. In loss, there lies an incredible opportunity. When you lose the old, you make way for the new. This is where the supernatural flow of peace begins. The congregation, caught in a moment of silence, let the weight of the message wash over them. A new awareness began to brighten their minds. With every heartbeat, the chapel shimmered with the presence of God as they absorbed not only words, but a fresh revelation. But what if we fall back? Mary asked, genuine concern flickering in her heart. How do we hold on to that peace? We grow, Mary. Every trial we encounter only brings us closer to the heart of God, John assured her, his gaze unwavering. Remember, faith is not a straight path. It's a dance, sometimes graceful, sometimes clumsy. But in the midst of the chaos, divine peace remains steadfast. The room filled with an electric energy, and Mary could almost see the light radiating around them. She sensed a shift. This was just the beginning. John's eyes twinkled with joyful spirit as he continued, as we embrace our next steps, prepare for the revelation to unfold. Each key will lead us deeper into understanding and peace, but we must remain open and willing to trust. A hush settled again, yet an undercurrent of excitement thrummed in the air, creating an intoxicating mix of apprehension and readiness. The congregation leaned forward, eager to uncover more about the miraculous journey that awaited them. What other keys await us? Someone ventured, their voice low but filled with sincere yearning. John grinned, an inviting spark lighting his eyes. Oh, there are many keys yet to discover, and the next one, my friends, will test our faith in ways we cannot imagine. But only through these trials will we deeply understand the essence of peace, through divine surrender in that moment. Their hearts collectively held a question, a yearning that braided itself together. What would it truly mean to embrace divine surrender? What awaited them on this adventurous path? As Mary looked around at the eager faces, she felt a stirring deep within, knowing that they were destined for something extraordinary, a beautiful unfolding woven together by the hands of grace. The next chapter felt just within reach, waiting to be revealed. A stillness enveloped the chapel, as if time held its breath, waiting for the next revelation. John, sensing the weight of expectation, took a moment to breathe deeply, drawing the room's energy into himself. The flickering candlelight bathed their faces in a warm glow, illuminating the hope and anticipation mirrored in each pair of eyes. The second key to peace, he began, his voice steady and clear, is profound trust. Trust is more than believing in what we see, it's embracing what we can't see. It's surrendering our doubts to the infinite wisdom of God. Mary's heart raced at his words. Trust was like a bridge she had walked before, but had often wavered on, unsure of the strength beneath her. Could she step onto it again? Why is trust so hard? A voice called from the back, tinged with vulnerability. John nodded, understanding the weight of that question. Trust is forged in the fires of uncertainty. We are often tempted to clutch at control, clinging tightly to our fears. But peace comes when we release those fears, inviting God to step into the gaps of our understanding. A murmur of acknowledgement swept through the crowd, as Mary absorbed the truth of it. She had known that fear, had danced around the edges of surrender. But here, now, she felt that familiar flicker of courage surfacing again. Imagine. John's tone grew more animated. What would it feel like to let go and trust completely every aspect of our lives, our children, our livelihoods, into God's hands? A ripple of excitement ran through the congregation. People shifted, nods of agreement circulating like electric threads connecting them all. Our world tells us to remain cautious, John continued, his passion deepening. But here's the truth, faith pulses through risk. When we trust, we create space for miracles. Supernatural answers await those who step forth boldly, exposing their hearts. Mary could feel the heartbeat of their shared faith quickening. Her eyes darted around, catching glimpses of excitement on faces that were hardened by life's struggles. They were beginning to recognize their own strength, an untapped reservoir of faith lying dormant within. But what if we stumble? Asked another congregant, his brow furrowed with doubt. Stumbling is a part of the journey, John reassured him with warmth. Every stumble is a chance to lean into grace. In those faltering moments, God is there to lift you up. It's in the challenge that we grow stronger. Remember, He sees our hearts. None of this surprises Him. An overwhelming sense of peace washed over Mary, like cool water flowing over parched earth. Each word John spoke seemed destined for her ears. Trust. John proclaimed, his voice echoing through the chapel. Even amid stormy seas. When the winds howl and the waves crash, remember that Jesus walks upon those very waters. Do you believe that He is here with us now, inviting us to step out? Trust makes the impossible possible. Tears glistened in Mary's eyes, watering the seeds of faith sprouting ever so gently in her soul. She savored the thought of stepping out of her comfort zone, of casting away the heavy burdens that dragged her down. The congregation shared in this collective revelation. Faces now radiated determination, testaments of budding trust lining the chapel like flickering flames igniting warmth. They were a community ready to take that leap together, to embrace the unknown arms of the divine. Are you willing to take that leap? John asked, eyes shining with a mixture of challenge and encouragement. Are you ready to stand on that bridge of trust? The question hung in the air, resonating powerfully. Mary felt her heart pulse in rhythm with those around her, a harmonious beat of readiness swelling in the silence. As the excitement bubbled, John leaned forward, his expression shifting slightly. Next, we shall explore how faith weaves through our surrender, shaping our very existence. What could that look like for each of us? A hush fell once more, now electrified with longing, a suspenseful pause lingering like an unresolved chord, inviting them to reflect. As they awaited the revelation that lay ahead. What would that divine surrender demand of them? What extraordinary journey was unfolding through faith? As the soft hush lingered, a palpable sense of anticipation pulsed through the chapel. Mary felt her heart thumping, echoing the question that danced in the corners of her mind. What would it mean to surrender fully, to weave faith through the fabric of her everyday life? John straightened, his gaze sweeping across the eager faces, and he continued, surrender is not a sign of weakness, it's an embrace of strength beyond ourselves. It's acknowledging that we cannot control every circumstance but trusting that God holds the world and us in His hands. He took a moment, letting those words settle. A few individuals leaned closer, eyes wide with curiosity. For Mary, the idea of surrender sparked a flicker of fear but also a gleam of hope. What does surrender look like in daily life? Someone ventured from the crowd, breaking the silence. John smiled, the warmth of encouragement radiating from him. Surrender begins with the small things, a prayer before we act, a moment of stillness amidst the chaos. Every time we choose to release our worries, our burdens, and trust in God's plan, we are surrendering. Each act of faith is a step closer to experiencing peace. Mary closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning those small moments of surrender. She pictured herself letting go of her fears surrounding her job, her family, her very sense of self. With each exhale, she felt lighter. The beauty of surrender, John continued, is that it invites God into our presence. It's like opening a door, creating a pathway for Him to work miracles in our lives. When we allow ourselves to soften, possibilities unfold in ways we cannot yet comprehend. A collective gasp rippled through the chapel, as imaginations ignited with visions of divine encounters waiting just beyond that door. Mary felt the spark of belief ignite in her chest. The thought of laying her burdens at the feet of Jesus felt not only liberating but necessary for her growth. What about when we feel unworthy? A woman called from the front row, her voice trembling slightly. John's expression turned tender. In our surrender, we discover that it's not about our worth. It's about His grace. We are all beloved children of God. He desires for us to turn toward Him, imperfections and all. Surrender means being real with ourselves and with God. As John spoke, the warmth of the room enveloped Mary like a blanket. She envisioned the struggles she carried: shame, uncertainty, isolation, and in recognizing them, she felt God's hand patiently waiting for her reach. Let your surrender pave the way for miracles, John urged, his voice rich with conviction. When we invite God into the smaller, messy pieces of our lives, He is faithful to transform them. What might be ordinary to us can become extraordinary in His hands. Mary's heart raced again. A thrill of possibility washed over her, mingled with an ache of longing. Her faith had often felt like a flickering light, but now a flame surged within her, pushing back the shadows of doubt. Are you ready to let go? John's voice pierced through her thoughts, challenging yet inviting. Are you willing to trust that God can turn your surrender into blessings? A wave of agreement coursed through the congregation, buoying spirits higher. They leaned into the moment, each heart united in a desire for surrender, for connection, for peace. Mary, determined, whispered a quiet prayer from within, sealing her commitment to the journey ahead. It was a wordless promise to open the door, to release her grasp, to breathe deeply of faith. As John prepared to close this section of their gathering, he leaned forward once more, eyes aflame with hope. Next, we will dive deeper into the mysteries of faith and how it molds our reality. We will explore what it means when His presence transforms our lives, when the ordinary becomes miraculous. The air thickened with energy, the congregants left holding their breath, yearning to uncover the next layer of divine mystery awaiting them. The atmosphere shifted. Mary could sense something stirring in the hearts of those around her. There was an unspoken hunger, an eagerness to step beyond the everyday and into the extraordinary. John's voice, filled with the promise of revelation, was the anchor in this sea of anticipation. Understand this, John began, leaning closer to the congregation, surrender is not just an end, it's also a beginning. As we let go, we open ourselves to the divine flow. This is where the real magic happens. Miracles await those willing to trust, to step into the unknown. He paused, allowing his words to resonate. Mary's heart beat faster. She found herself clinging to every syllable, as if the very essence of faith could be captured in John's message. What if, he continued, glancing around to engage as many eyes as possible, what if our greatest burdens are, in fact, our greatest blessings? Oftentimes, it's these very struggles that lead us to a deeper understanding of God's love and grace. Mary felt a wave of realization crash over her. The heavy weight she had carried, the fears of inadequacy, the shadows of failure, could be reframed. What if these were the keys to unlocking a faith that could not be contained? Picture your fears, John urged, as a stormy sky. Now imagine every worry is a raindrop that feeds the soil beneath. The rain gives way to growth, turning barren places into blooms of life. This is what happens when we surrender. Faces among the crowd lit up, nodding in recognition. They were visualizing their own storms: the disease, the divorce, the job loss as growth opportunities purposed by God to draw them closer to His heart. Let us go deeper, John said, his voice rising with urgency. It is within our struggles that God invites us to lean into Him. When we shift our perspective, we begin to see life through His lens. The ordinary becomes a canvas for His artistry. Mary imagined her own experiences. Losing herself in the weight of expectation, she now saw the potential for rebirth in each setback. God was painting a masterpiece, and every brushstroke was an invitation to come alive. Many of us may wonder how to attain this divine peace, John continued. The answer lies in seeking connection. Have you ever taken a moment to just be? To sit silently with God, to listen? In that stillness, we discover who we are meant to be. The chapel embraced a hushed reverence, hearts aligning with the sacred invitation to pause amidst life's frantic pace. Mary could almost feel the currents of gentleness weaving through the air. It was as if God himself was whispering, "You are enough." John moved closer to the edge of the stage. Committing to this journey is where true healing begins, when we hand over our burdens not to get them back, but to leave them with him. What does that surrender look like to you? What would you give up today? Every eye shimmered with contemplation, questions rippling through the crowd. It was an invitation to confess what they had cared for too long, what they perpetually clutched. Mary felt her throat tighten. Years of guilt, a deep-rooted fear of disappointment, all flashed before her. But alongside those fears, she saw glimmers of hope, the kind of hope that would rise from genuine surrender. "Remember," John said, gently urging them on, "our God is not distant. He longs to meet us in our vulnerability, to embrace us as beloved children. Your story, your struggles when surrendered become part of the greatest love affair written in heaven." As applause danced through the room, Mary caught glimpses of the faces around her. Some were tear-soaked, others bright with renewed resolve. A soft melody began to stir in the background, echoing the sacred tones of worship. John raised his hands, encouraging the congregants to praise. "Next time we gather, we will explore not only the blessings of surrender but the profound peace that follows faith in action. Just what treasures lie ahead in our journey? Come ready to discover the miracles buried beneath the surface." Mary's spirit soared as the congregation began to sing, voices blending into an anthem of healing. Something stirred deep within her, a fresh wind of grace brushing against her soul. What awaited them in the next meeting, she pondered. What deeper truth would open their eyes to the divine flow? The days stretched between meetings, yet the anticipation never dulled in Mary's heart. Each dawn felt like an invitation, a fresh canvas where she could paint her trust anew. Thoughts of the gathering spun through her mind. She could almost hear John's voice echoing in her soul, urging her to step boldly into the unknown. When at last the day arrived, excitement thrummed through the air, palpable and electric. Crowds flooded the chapel, their faces aglow with eager expectation. Mary found a seat near the front, her pulse quickening as she caught sight of John preparing for the service. "Today," John began, his eyes gleaming with purpose, "we'll delve into the profound peace that arises from faith in action. It's a peace that doesn't just whisper, it shouts life into our very beings. But let us start by considering stillness not as a void, but as an embracing space where God can work." He paused, allowing a contemplative silence to settle over the congregation. The soft flicker of candlelight danced in rhythm with their collective breaths, as though they were all part of a single heart beating in unison. "Think back to the moments of stillness in your life," he urged. "Can you remember when you chose to pause, to let the chaos swirl around you while you remained anchored in God's presence? That is the starting point, embracing the chaos while leaning on the eternal." Mary remembered her own pauses, the times she pressed into quiet moments with God after the storms had raged. Each time, it felt like stepping onto holy ground where nothing was wasted, where her deepest fears and greatest hopes danced together. "Peace," John continued, his voice carrying deep conviction, "isn't the absence of conflict. It's the assurance that God is right there with you, even in the storm." His words struck her like a gentle rain on parched soil. She felt a part of her long-held anxiety begin to soften as she surrendered her question to the divine. What if the chaos was a pathway to peace? "We often think we must do more, strive harder," John emphasized, gesturing with passion. "But sometimes, the greatest act of faith is to let go, to release our grip on control. What will you surrender today to find that divine flow?" Mary closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning what she could release. The burdens of expectation felt heavy, but as John spoke, she imagined each one as a feather, ready to be released into the wind of God's grace. "Now, let me share a revelation," John said, lowering his voice as if to draw them in closer. "When we surrender, we create space for the miraculous. The miracles may come in the form of a deep inner peace, clarity on our paths, or even unexpected blessings. God delights in surprising us. Murmurs of agreement spilled through the crowd, as heads bobbed in recognition. Mary's heart swelled with joy, a joy grounded in the promise that she need not bear her burdens alone. "We are to be carriers of peace," John declared, raising his voice. "As we detach from the worries that bind us, we become conduits of divine love to those around us. Imagine a world where we embody that peace." The congregation erupted in applause, voices lifted in unison, a symphony of hope and faith that echoed off the chapel walls. Mary felt the very fabric of her spirit igniting, embers of divine love stirring within her. As the atmosphere shifted again, she realized, this journey was more than her own. It was a shared tapestry of human experience, threaded through vulnerability and stitched with courage. Finally, John raised his hand, signaling for quiet. "In our next gathering, we'll delve deeper into the wonders that arise from our unrestrained faith. What happens when we let God take the lead on our soul's journey? What mysteries await us? Prepare your hearts for the unimaginable." Caught in the swell of emotion, Mary could hardly contain her anticipation. What miraculous revelations lay just ahead? What transformations would faith unveil, as they boldly stepped together into the divine mystery? The week that followed was a tapestry of expectation for Mary. Each day unfolded like petals blooming toward a sunlit sky, pulling her deeper into its warmth. Every encounter buzzed with a sense of divine promise. Strangers exchanged knowing smiles, familiar faces radiated joy, and the whispers of hope filled the air around her. As the next gathering drew near, Mary felt a stirring within her spirit, as if she were a vessel preparing to spill over with grace. She spent time in prayer, asking for clarity and insight, longing to grasp the depths of what God had in store. Hours melted away as she sought the quiet places of her soul, allowing the stillness to wash over her like a gentle tide. Finally, the awaited day arrived. The chapel stood aglow, inviting and warm, as if it too were expectant. Mary took her place among the faithful, hearts gathering like matched fires, each soul igniting the other in brilliance. The air buzzed with a different kind of energy. This was no longer just a gathering, it felt more like a celestial convergence. John appeared, his presence electric, and the anticipation transformed into a hushed reverence that swept through the congregation. "Today," he proclaimed, "we'll explore the miraculous keys to divine peace. When we release ourselves into God's plan, we unlock the doors to a peace that surpasses all understanding." His voice soared, lifting spirits with each syllable. He gestured toward the candles dimly flickering atop the altar like stars waiting to break free. "The first key is surrender. Surrender isn't defeat, it's the act of laying down your will at God's feet. Peace isn't passive, it's a fierce trust that God fights for us." Mary's heart resonated with his words, and as John continued, she felt chains of doubt begin to shatter around her. "What burdens are you holding on to?" he pressed gently. "Each struggle we cling to dims the light meant to shine through us. Release them, let God transform your grief. Allow there to be room for His grace." A silence enveloped the room as members reflected on their lives. Mary imagined her worries dissolving into the air, each one a fragile balloon drifting up and away. Among the whispers of the congregation, she overheard a voice nearby. It spoke of healing, of longing for connection, and Mary's heart ached in recognition. As if sensing the collective yearning, John leaned closer to the microphone, drawing them deeper in. "The second key is trust. Trust isn't the absence of doubt but the presence of faith. When faced with uncertainty, call on His promises. He will not lead you astray." Tears sparkled in the eyes of those around her, and Mary felt courage swell within, a divine invitation to lay aside her fears. "Your trust opens pathways for miracles," John continued. "Whether it's healing in relationships, restoration of heart, or renewed joy, your faith cultivates the soil for seeds of hope to flourish." The energy in the room pulsed, igniting hearts that had, until then, felt distant. "Now," he added, "the third key, gratitude." Mary smiled, recalling her own moments of thankfulness. Thankfulness aligns our hearts with heaven. When we thank God for the little things, we open channels for the big miracles, John declared. Gratitude shifts our perspective from lack to abundance. It paints our lives with colors of joy, reflecting the Creator's love. The congregation erupted in murmurs of agreement again, spirit-filled with the melody of hope. Mary felt God whisper to her, what if embracing gratitude unlocked even deeper layers of peace? The radiance of faith began to weave its influence throughout each soul, igniting the spark of unity. Next week, we will explore the remaining keys to unlock the divine dance of our souls, John said, his voice resolute against the hushed symphony of hearts echoing throughout the chapel. There are wonders awaiting us, and together we will walk boldly into every mystery God has designed for us. As Mary left the chapel, the excitement thrummed through her veins. She felt a transformation brewing within, and a question lingered on her lips: what were the secrets yet to be revealed? Would she have the courage to embrace them all? The night had finally come upon the village of Larkspur like a warm embrace. The chapel stood illuminated, a sanctuary pulsing with hope and faith. As the congregation gathered once more, Mary felt an electric energy coursing through the air, a divine invitation to uncover the final key, a key that promised to unlock the door of peace that they had all sought. John stood at the front, his voice resonating like a shepherd calling his flock. Tonight, my friends, we will explore the last key to divine peace, unwavering love. He spoke with such authority, compelling all ears to lean in closer. Love is the greatest force on earth. It transcends pain, it heals wounds, and it transforms lives. His eyes sparkled with fervor, mirroring the flickering candles around him. Mary's heart swelled, her spirit igniting with every word. The essence of God's love danced around them, wrapping every soul in its tendrils. When we embody love, we become vessels of peace to the world. We reflect the very heart of God, John continued passionately. In our love, we find connection, unity, and purpose. This is the divine flow. Tears brimmed in the eyes of many around her, cleansing the fears and doubts they had carried for far too long. Mary could almost taste the sweetness of renewal in the air. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing the warmth of love to swirl around her, wrapping her in an embrace of understanding. Then it hit her: love was not just a feeling, but an action, a choice made daily amidst the trials of life. Think of someone in your life who needs your love tonight, John encouraged, his voice a soothing balm. Extend your heart to them. Offer forgiveness, understanding, and kindness. This simple act can change everything. The room swelled with murmured agreement, hearts aligning in a chorus of recognition. Mary glanced around at familiar faces, each one honed by stories of struggle and resilience. At that moment, she felt empowered to put love into action, to approach the life challenges with an open heart rather than a clenched fist. She remembered John's words about surrender and trust. They were the foundation upon which love could build its home. Then John, sensing the collective movement of hearts, took a step closer to the altar. Let us not forget, he said softly, that the purest love also requires vulnerability. It's about showing up, being real with each other, and letting others in despite the risks. He paused, allowing those poignant words to settle within each person. The chapel fell silent as a deep reverence gripped the congregation, their hearts pounding with the truth of the journey they had undertaken together. Mary opened her eyes, her gaze falling on the wooden beams of the chapel, that sacred place where they had prayed, cried, and dared to hope. Together they had shared every pain and discovery, forging an unbreakable bond. What will you choose to do with this love? John challenged them, his passion igniting embers of bravery. Will you harbor it like a treasure or let it flow freely into the lives around you? The question echoed in Mary's own spirit, urging her to respond. She stood up, her heart racing, and looked around at her neighbors. I choose to love fiercely, Mary declared, her voice ringing with conviction. I choose to love my husband, my family, and this community. To be a source of light in the darkness because we were made for this. An awe-inspiring murmur swept over the crowd, spirits lifting as they recognized the call to love. Eyes sparkled with newfound determination. They, too, felt empowered to shift their perspectives and embrace the divine dance of love set before them. Let us pray. John's voice soared, gathering the congregation to their feet. They clasped hands, forming a circle of unity that pulsed with fervent faith. Mary felt John's presence beside her, his energy a constant reminder of the miraculous journey they had endured together. Lord, help us to be conduits of your love, John prayed, fervent and sincere. May we embody peace and light for those who seek it, showing them your heart through our actions. As prayer enveloped the room, something extraordinary happened. A warmth flooded over Mary, a sweet, gentle affirmation from heaven. Elation billowed in her chest, flowing through every fiber of her being. God was there, binding them together, illuminating not just their souls but the very essence of their community. We now walk forth, free in love. John proclaimed with finality, breaking the circle. The applause that erupted felt like thunder, echoing against the chapel walls, a collective declaration of faith and love lifting them all higher. Mary's vision blurred with tears of gratitude as the audience began to disperse, but she stood transfixed. The air hummed with harmony, the tangible presence of divine peace washing over her like a steady wave crashing upon the shore. There was a whisper of grace, a profound understanding that their journey was not complete, it was just beginning. In the moments of quiet that followed, Mary gazed at the candlelit altar, its flame flickering in synchronicity with her heart. She felt alive, transformed, guided home by the light of love. Whatever lay ahead, she knew they were armed with all 7 keys to divine peace. This was the moment they had all waited for, a life realigned with heaven's rhythm. Remember, dear readers, every moment of your life is a choice. You hold the keys to unlock peace through your love and faith. If you've been touched by this story, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to support us and uncover the next divine moments together. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and openness to more hearts. Share your reactions in the comments below, your testimonies matter. And you must share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. This is the moment for true servants of God to unite.